we're going to focus on how to turn tension into fuel. There's a lot of times when there's situations where things have to get done, and instead of getting more productive, that tension actually creates more friction and backfires. What I want to give you today is the key point that actually going to transform that. Instead of working against us, it could push us to take action and fuel. Then I'm going to go through a live Q&A. So if you want to apply that principle to your life, I'll be able to answer your questions live. And so get a pen and paper, take some notes, because knowledge alone is nice, but it's not going to create change. It's applying that knowledge is what's going to make a difference in your life. It's action that's going to create the difference. Knowledge tells us what to do, but just knowledge alone is not going to change and transform your life. It's applying that knowledge is what's going to do it. So take some notes and let's do this. So turning tension into fuel. The first thing is, let's start with an example of the morning rush. Why? Summer together is over now, and we're going into the school. It could be anything. It could be the morning rush. It could be any time we tell a child. And we feel that pressure. There is a deadline, and our children are not moving. It could be clean the dishes. It could be put away the phone. There's tension. There's a situation that has to happen, and our children are resisting. And now, when there's a hard deadline, it actually feels more legitimate because it's not about us. It's about that this is what needs to happen. But it could also happen when our children are just disrespecting us whatsoever. They just are feeling different. We could be waiting in the car. They're taking 20 minutes and nothing's moving. It could be it's 12 o'clock at night. The kids are still playing around, asking to have more screen time, resisting us, answering back, whatever it may be. And the issue is that the situation is telling us this is not okay, and we feel it. It's not. If there's a clear deadline, let's say there's a morning rush, we feel that pressure. We can't just ignore it. We can't just stay calm. Stay calm is an outcome. When we feel everything's in order and things are running to plan, we could feel calm. But when there is this pressure, it's very hard to stay calm. Our psyche is telling us this is not okay. Same thing is, even if it's not a hard deadline, but our children are just indifferent. They don't care. That also puts on the pressure. And we feel it. This disrespect, this ignoring. It's not a way we can live. But answering back to shouting. That pressure is our system telling us that we feel it. Yeah, very good. So so the way to do it is, and I just want, before we go address it, I just want to not normalize it, but tell you, you are normal. With that amount of pressure, with that amount of disrespect, with that amount of disregard, or especially when we're wearing thin, we try our best, we're bending backwards, and there's still this resistance, we feel that pressure. What do you expect not to explode? How many times can I be slapped in the face until I say, oh, enough is enough? And that is why we feel it. So I just want you to sit back and look at yourself and feel that instead of judging ourselves, why we're getting all angry and regretful and then trying to blame someone, the children or ourselves, first let's step back and recognize it. The reason why I feel this is because I'm like trapped. I have to get stuff done. I know ideally what the situation should be, what our home culture should be, what the relationship should be, and it's not there. And that's very painful, especially when we feel stuck. And the more urgent we feel it, the more the pressure is going to build. And what do we do with all that pressure? How much can we feel it until we explode? Think the last time you shouted at your kids. I mean, I did in the past. It's like we feel it has to get done. We're trying, and we're going nowhere, and it explodes. So just give yourself some grace. But today I want to tell you there is a better way, and I'm going to show you the key ingredient, how to transform that into a better way, that even though We will feel the tension, especially in the first stage. Obviously, as we develop and we learn a better way of handling it, we don't feel as pressured because we feel competent. Competence leads to confidence. And then we don't feel so out of whack. We don't feel lack of control because we know how to handle it. But in the beginning, we're going to feel that pressure. But nevertheless, even though we feel that pressure, it won't take us down the wrong route. So we end up shouting, screaming, creating tension and friction, and then regret and creating distance with our child. We could actually funnel it into a more productive way. So the key thing is, let me just check the chat a bit. Oh, yelling, yeah, welcome to the club. So the key thing over here is pressure is a signal. It's a difference in urgency versus direction. Meaning, when pressure, we feel that pressure, and I think it's best when we step back and think of a realistic, specific situation, not just in general, I yell. Think back, was it when, I know the last time it happened to me, it was I was traveling, we needed to pack up, and I was getting stuff done. I tell my 11-year-old, actually my 12-year-old, I told him, you have 5 stuff, just put it back in the suitcase so we're ready to roll. I come back an hour later, still nothing hasn't moved. And the time's ticking, we're rushed. And I felt it, and I'm telling you, do it. And the more I'm speaking, the more angry I'm getting inside me. Why do I get so angry? Because I see this, we're on a timeline, I feel like he's indifferent, and the urgency is telling me stuff has to get done, and it's not getting done. So urgency is, thank you for that. I know someone's listening and connecting. So urgency is telling us something has to get done. It's almost like telling us what has to get done. We know, in my case, the suitcase had to get packed, and he wanted my child to do it, and he wasn't doing it, and now he's putting pressure. I need to handle everything else I need to handle, plus I need to handle the packing, and I need to handle him and his resistance, and this is not okay. So something has to change. That's what urgency is telling me. Something has to change. That is very different than direction. Direction is telling me how to change. And if I don't know how to change, I'm going to feel the what, the why, the importance that something has to change, and I'm going to feel that pressure. If I don't know how to change it, I don't have a plan, so I'm going to have it's like almost like having the gas pedal pushing with all this energy, change. You can't, the status quo is not okay, but I don't know how to do it. I'm stuck in a ditch. So I'm being pushed from one side, and I'm also pressing the brake because I don't want to shout, I don't want to yell. And I'm pushing the gas brake, hold myself, don't explode, be nice, be calm. This is who my values are, I care. But the pressure is still pushing and pushing and pushing. Boom, it's going to explode. But this is the key difference, tremendously important. If we could come up with a plan of how to change, what exactly am I going to do? When my child resists, have a plan. Okay, so how am I going to handle it? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Do I understand my child? What's triggering it? Is it because he doesn't understand what's going on, or he feels overwhelmed, he's not interested? Is it disrespect? When we have a legitimate but caring, genuine perspective of what's happening, we might feel the pressure, but that pressure, instead of us pushing us to feel hopeless, and when we feel hopeless and trapped, we get angry, that pressure is going to push us to take the plan of action. Now, if we don't have a clear plan of action, it's just in the spur of the moment, we're so overwhelmed, we just grab whatever comes, and we are reactive instead of responsive. We're not intentional. We're just reacting to our emotions, our child's emotions, and it just becomes a spiral stack us down, and the explosions just happen, crash, bang. It's like a powder keg just exploded. So when we have a plan of action clear, because the truth is, I'm almost sure there's probably 5 scenarios that come up, maximum 5 scenarios that come up for you again and again in your life. Wherever those situations are, you could think of them. It's not like, oh, it caught you out of the blue. It feels like that in the moment. And in the moment, when we feel hopeless, every time that happens, it's like they're pushing a button. And it's like a bruise. And it's not just the pain of the push. It's like, here we go again. Why can't they do it? Can't they see every single time? And the whole story is just pushing and pushing in us. And it's fueling the fire. So with all this fuel negativity in the fire, no wonder the fire is not going out. But if we could stop, make a plan of action before, we know it's going to happen. It happened dozens and dozens of times before. So when you could think ahead, think, we know it's going to happen. And then what attitude do I need to tell myself what's going to be helpful? That instead of looking negatively at my child or at myself, I'm going to look in a genuine, authentic, caring way, understanding way, and objectively, what does my child need now to take him from where he's at, to train him to start manning up and taking ownership. Once we have that plan, and every family is different because obviously our values are going to be based on what works well on our history, our values. Some of us do want to give consequences. Some of us don't want to give consequences. Some of us want to count down. Some of us don't want to count down. You know what works best for you. But if you have a plan in your head, then you could act the plan. And that plan, every time we feel pressure, because it's difficult to play with that plan, consistency, wherever it's difficult, we don't like it, but we know it's going to work. We could then channel that pressure and that urgency. Instead of exploding, it's going to fuel us to take that direction and action that we know is going to differ. But this could only work if we make a plan ahead of time. We know what to expect in our child. We know what to expect in ourselves, both in action, emotion, and the mindset. And then we cover all those three bases. And then the more we take it, the action's going to change because our children learn what we tolerate, not what we tell them. Yeah, we could tell them, but they're a different type of breed. They're focused on getting what they want. And we as an adult have to train them to change that direction. So we first need to have a plan. So this is the formula. If you have the what and the how, that equals a plan. You know what's telling you why you have to do it, and then you know how to do it, a specific plan, that's what's going to change. But if you just have the what and the why, but you don't have the how, you don't know how to do it, what specifically you have to do, you just know what has to get done, why it has to get done, but you don't know how, a plan of action, you're going to feel that pressure. And when we'll feel pressure, when that pressure builds, whether we like it or not, we're going to explode. So again, my strong belief in my experience and with the dozens and dozens of people I work with, we can't work on calm. A lot of people say, just stay calm, breathe to 10. Tell yourself again, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But again, just imagine someone's punching us in the face again and again. There's going to be a limit how much I could tolerate. Now, obviously, if it's low burning pressure, I could tolerate it. But when it pushes us in the right button, we're going to explode. Calmness is an outcome when we know what to do and we know how to handle it, both in attitude and in action. We know what to do. So that's why it's so important to the what, the why, because that's telling us why we should do it, but then a specific how to do it. And that's why a goal broken down into steps is a plan. We have a goal. We want our child to do this. We want to have a loving culture home. We want to have a loving connection where there's respect and friendship. We want to have that connection. But if we don't have a clear steps how we're going to get from where we are to where we need to get to, we won't have a plan. And just because we want it very much, we want the goal, extremely important, that's not going to get it. It's tremendously important to have that desire. Otherwise, you won't be showing up to this call, spending an hour on Sunday. It's obviously extremely important for you to change the dynamics in your home. The next step is actually making a plan of action, how exactly to do it. And it's best to do it when there is no tension. So you're thinking clearly, you know what's going to happen, and it must be a plan that's not cliche. It must be aligned with your lived reality. You know yourself, you know your child, and you know the relationship better than anyone else. You've been living with the child 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. I don't know how old your child is. You've been living with yourself even more. You know what gets you, what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you. So you need to make a plan. What will work? You know where there's resistance, what will build them. Make that plan of action, and that's what's going to get you to your goal. And also, tremendously important, when you have a plan of action, you know you could build it up. Step one is like almost like someone's going to the gym, and they could barely lift 20 kilograms. So they know their goal is to lift 100. But when they go into the gym and they're lifting 20, they could say, I'm only lifting 20 now. But that is because this is my stage. I'll go to 30 in a week from now, 40 in 3 weeks from now. And therefore, they give themselves grace what to focus on. So in this case, when we have a plan, I could, let's say, focus. Some of us need to create not arguing, because every time we argue, it explodes. That's what we want things. Some of us could be more loving, spending more quality time. Some of us, it could be more firm, more direct. Whatever your plan of action is, how we're going to do. What happens when I ask them again and they keep ignoring? What I'm going to do then? And yeah, I want to create all these steps, but when I know it's part of a plan, I could start with step one. Now I'm building this muscle. Next week, I'll build the next muscle, and so on. And then slowly you build the bridge. It's like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every single day. But they couldn't build in a day. They first made one layer of bricks, then a second layer of bricks, and a third. And so with us. So it's more effective, more long-lasting, more calm, and it's more workable. I'm going to tell you the 3 stages of learning. And first, you go to say, what? That doesn't make sense. But then I'll explain it, and I'll ring true. The first stage of learning is after the fact. The second stage of learning is during the fact. And the third stage of learning is before the fact. What do I mean? For example, the first time I had to make a plan of action, it was very difficult. I'm already drained. I have no energy. I'm trying my best. My child is just not playing ball. Not only am I going through the emotional pain, I'm physically finished, emotionally drained. Now it's my job to take ownership and responsibility and start thinking. It's so difficult. And I'll tell you even more. If you were like me, or all the people I work with, we have trained our brain so many times that when something's difficult, when our child's not listening or something's not going our way, we've naturally looked at, why can't they change? Why can't they just do it? Hello? They don't see how much I'm working, how reasonable I am. They don't care, or something like that. And what's really happening is we've trained our brain that the way to get rid of pain and uncomfort, which is legitimate, we should not live in pain. Our natural instinct is to seek comfort and avoid displeasure, or seek pleasure and avoid discomfort. That's what our children want. That's what we want. We want to go smooth. But we trained our brain, at least for me, is that when that's painful, I naturally look outside of me, that if circumstances change, then I'll be okay. At least it takes away part of the blame that I'm not at fault. And many times we're not at fault. But it gives us at least some conversation. If the other person's hurting us emotionally or whatever it may be, at least we could blame them. And therefore, it's tremendously difficult, at least for me, it was tremendously difficult to stop looking at them negatively and say, well, what could I do different? I felt that's so not fair. I'm working so hard. I try so much. And not only that, they don't care. They continue to ignore me, continue to shout me. That was so emotionally painful. And now you want me to take ownership where they don't give a hoot? It was so difficult. And therefore, I didn't want to reflect. Never mind actually take the action that's needed. So I didn't. And then the situation came up again. And you know what happened? That pain, that guilt, that shame, that regret that was in me, I don't want the situation. Forget what my child's doing, the other party's doing. I hated reacting. This wasn't the person I want to be. And that pain pushed me, you know what? If I want to change this, blaming someone else is never going to change the situation. I had so much years of experience. I have to take the lead. And therefore, I slowly, after the fact, when I feel that pain, the regret, the shame, that's what pushed me to take a different action. And I'm still not perfect because it's so much muscle memory, years of training of, let's say, every time there's a resistance, I used to shout, get mad. The anger flare in me. So then every time it happened, it was like I needed to train myself a whole new way. Imagine someone is eating junk all day and suddenly wants to go on a healthy diet. And biologically, the body's going to be craving that sugar. In our case, our body wants to go to that comfort, the one that only knows, which is shouting, blaming, screaming. And now we say, I get you, but I want to train myself in a new way. And therefore, normally the first stage of learning happens after the fact. Like now, why we're on the workshop? Because we're just done with the situation that happened. We want to change. And that pain is just tremendously beneficial. I think it's the number one thing that could create change, pain. We want to run away from pain, which is a good thing. And the issue is, instead of using that pain to fuel change productively, a lot of times we numb it out, shouting, screaming, sugar, I know what, it could be other stuff, and therefore, normally that's stage one. Then, as we practice again and again, we catch ourselves during a moment. We're about to shout and say, hey, I shouldn't be doing it. And we have that tension. And that's a very hard place to be because we're already in the mode of shouting, getting angry, and we're willing to tell ourselves, I'm stopping. Why? It's not perfect, but at least I'm not going to make it worse. And that is a great stage. A lot of times we realize in the moment, and we say, hey, I already messed up, F it, I'm going to continue. Nuh-uh. That ability to stop ourselves when we feel that pressure and still act in line with our values and our goals, that's tremendous. A lot of people haven't yet developed that skill. So if you're in that moment and you could stop yourself during the act, kudos to you. And that is the second stage. When we realize enough times in that moment, then we're about to shout and realize, I shouldn't be doing it. It happened to me yesterday. I was discussing, actually it wasn't my child, it was someone else, and they just weren't getting me. I'm trying to explain it, and I wanted to explain myself. And I knew whatever I'm going to say, it's just going to backfire. And I needed to keep my mouth shut because that's the only option I had. And I just let them think they were right. And I need to swallow my pride. It was so difficult. But I knew every time I'm going to open my mouth, boom, it's just going to create more friction because they want to be right. It says it takes two people to fight, but only one person to stop it. If me and you want to fight, so there needs to be resistance. As soon as I say, you're right, I get you. It makes so much sense. You got to fight with me? I agree with you. The issue is it takes so much, I'm not sure if the word is humility, but it takes so much inner control to be willing to let go of our pride just to live with our values and for the greater good. And that's a muscle. But when we're willing to do that, it's like almost like a wave comes and it settles. You're punching by a ball. You punch it and it starts shaking a bit and then it settles. So it's difficult for 5 minutes, but afterwards you feel so much better. What that means for us is we could think of it, if I have a plan of action, I'm going to realize it's going to be difficult in these few minutes, but the long-term gain is going to be far more beneficial. When we react from our emotions, we get short-term gain. We feel relief because of that pressure, but it creates a lot more long-term harm. And that's the difference between foresight and hindsight. Ideally, we want to have foresight. If you don't want to go through that pain, make a plan of action. Take it tonight, sit down for half an hour, and just start writing. This is the situation. This is the goal. What are my steps? What are the steps I need to get there and start doing it? And it might be a bumpy journey. Give yourself grace. We're building the whole new muscle for ourselves and for our children. What pushes us is taking us from pressure to plan to action. We feel that pressure. That pressure pushes us, first of all, to make a plan. And then, once you have that pressure that pushes us to take a plan, it's actually to live by that plan and take action. And then, so use that pressure that you felt yesterday, or you don't want to feel tomorrow, or you're going to feel tomorrow or today. That pressure should push you to make a plan. And then sometimes it's hard to do it. So use that pressure to push you to take action. And as we do it, that's what's going to create change. Make sense? Okay. So with that, hopefully by now, I told you on the importance of making a plan of action, because I sincerely believe that the only way to get rid of pressure is not about feeling better, but actually getting better. Because just we want to feel better, we're going to shout, scream, but that's not going to change the direction. It's when we actually make a plan of action, that's what's going to get us better the situation, and then automatically we'll feel better in a much more sustainable way. Okay, I'm going to now move on to Q&A. Before that, is it okay if I just show you something that I'm launching? I'll take you a minute, and then we'll jump into Q&A. In the Q&A, you'll come up from you, I'll answer your questions. Is that fair? Thumbs up or something? Okay, so let's go. Just 1 minute over here. I'm launching now the 60-day turnaround. You probably know what needs to change, how it's going to change, why it needs to change. I'm going to show you exactly how it should change. I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step system how to do it, in a way that you could become your kid's trusted friend and respected authority. A lot of parents feel, oh, if I put my foot down, it's going to create friction. Or as so many parents told me, the kid doesn't even want to talk to them. So I'm going to show you how to create step-by-step being both the kid's trusted friend and respected authority. And what happens when we mess up? We are human. Don't need to be perfect. And nevertheless, use that mess up as fuel for growth and connection instead of it pulling us back. Instead of 1 step forward, 2 steps back, it's going to be 3 steps forward, 1 step back, and another 3 steps forward. And then how to communicate so it lands as love, not control. And this is going to be you and me every single week for 60 days. It's going to be weekly live calls and the recordings available. There's going to be an exclusive WhatsApp group to support you throughout the week, not just those live calls. So those live calls give you the training and Q&A afterwards. And it starts on Tuesday, the 1st of September. So who's this for? This is if you are sick of your current situation and hungry to create change. This is for you. Because just knowledge alone will not create change. The key, I could give you knowledge. I'm going to give you support wherever you need to create that change. But if we're not hungry, if we expect someone to just give us a magic pill and something's going to change, it will not work. But if you're ready to take the action and create change, this will absolutely transform your home in just 60 days, a full turnaround. I'm going to do it at extremely cheap price, $299 for the full turnaround, all in one. And then enrollment closes when the call fills. If this is something you want, just text turnaround to the number 725-240-5301. Or it's a number that you got to remind us with. If you text turnaround, I'll give you a link. You can get all the information over there. We're going to move on now to Q&A. Let's go over here. Okay, if you have a question, I see someone posted in the chat. Example of a plan, tried to schedule, but no luck. 10-minute warning, no luck. Okay, so who is this? Lynn, do you want to come off mute so I could answer you? Explain your question.
Can you hear me?
If you have a question. Yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just, I know that the pressure builds up, and what I'm trying to understand is I do know you would have to make a plan, and it seems no matter what plan's made, the child seems to break it or not abide by it, like the 10-minute warning or a schedule for them to follow, so that they're taking the responsibility.
Perfect. Thank you, Lynn, for that. I'm just going to clarify the question because I think you're not the only one. I'm sure other parents of it is so common that we try to make a plan, make a follow through, give them and nothing's moving. So
Correct.
how much could we keep on doing the same thing without the same results until we're saying, this is not working. I need something better. That's the question, basically?
Yes.
Perfect. So like this, I'm just going to give you an overview why I think the key thing is over here. With children, it's both attitude and action are both equally important. The reason why I'm saying it is because an attitude is like the fuel. If we have a fire, the tension's coming up. If we're pouring fuel on that fire, it's just going to go more. If we're pouring water on the fire, it's going to settle. Now, what is fuel? What is water? If we have an expectation that it's almost like it doesn't make sense what our child's doing. Come on, can't you see? We have a certain, inherently, we feel that the child's totally wrong. Not that they're wrong for their action, but almost like they have zero legitimacy for what they're doing. It must be the only reason why they're doing it, because they don't care about me and they're looking to disrespect me. Not that we want that, but emotionally, that's what we feel. And that's tremendously amount of fuel pouring on the fire. That however nice you want to be, however we want to take the best technique and script, we can't give honey if we're filled with vinegar. And now we feel that. And unless we have a better perspective, understanding, the child's not really, and deep down we know our child is not looking to be against us. But to have a way of looking at it, I realize, understanding, the child just wants their way. And now, just because they want their way doesn't mean you need to give them their way. But now we could see it. I'm going to give you an example. This was like a real eye-opener for me. My 7-year-old didn't like going to vets. He probably still doesn't. And I understood he just didn't like going to vets. He just wanted to be himself and play in the dirty, whatever it is, and not go. When I told him he has to go to the vet, he started shouting and crying the first time. By me understanding, it's just he's crying not because I'm doing something wrong, but just because it's very difficult for him. I was able to have compassion for him. So I was able to do what I do, but with a hug and a kiss and genuine intention. Now, but that's going to be very hard if I just have a great mindset. Now, obviously, before I go to the plan of action, but even in mindset, it can't be just forced upon us. But like if I look at the white wall and I say, this is black, this is black, this is black, like I say 10,000 times till I'm blue in the face, I'm going to know it's white. There has to be a genuine switch. For your situation, you know your child, you know yourself, you know the relationship, you know the history, all the nuances more than anyone else. So to genuinely see it in a way that actually I know, but the reason why I'm feeling difficult is because I don't want to be stuck there. So a lot of times we're scared to even think that because we think the flip side of understanding them means that we're going to give them legitimacy and therefore we need to play along with them. That's not true. We could acknowledge them and still go with our path. But that's the first point of attitude. Then a plan of action is where the plan of action means we need to understand that the child has two dynamics. Even we have sometimes. Now we're very rational. It makes sense. We're speaking. We understand. That's logic. So when we get angry, we're not dealing with logic. We're dealing with emotions, desires. And therefore, we can know it's wrong, and we're just so angry, we do it. Now, it doesn't need to be when we're angry, or the child is so locked in doing what feels comfortable that their intellectual understanding is not going to overpower that difficulty of giving up their desire. And therefore, they're going to continue doing whatever they can just to get what they want. Shouting, screaming, being disrespectful, gaslighting, or whatever you name it, shouting, yelling, tantrums. It might feel personal, But it's really just their way of saying, I really want this and I really don't want to do it. They just don't know how to voice it like a mature person. What's the solution? In this case, it's a difference between show and tell. Telling explains, hoping when I'm giving you reason, I'm giving you logic, and I want your logic to be strong enough that you're going to apply and follow through because you're rational. But when the child's irrational, we want logic to influence the emotions. It just doesn't have the power. It's like speaking Chinese to someone who speaks English. They could explain it the best in Chinese. It's not going to impact.
No, correct.
That's when we have to, that's what, very good. And therefore we have to show. Now, show doesn't mean a slap across the face. We don't do that. But if they're going to see the boundaries that they know. I'm going to give an example. I gave it before. I'm a teacher. I've been for 15 years in the classroom. Now, at the beginning of the year, I listen what the students have. And then at the end of the year, I ask them what changed. So this student in particular, he was like off the wall, ADHD, shouting nonstop, like literally 50 times a day. No matter what, he just couldn't. He knew. He just couldn't hold himself in. And he got away, and I'm almost sure that's how he has at home. He gets away in other classes. So I asked him at the end of the year, what changed? He said, you know, Rabbi, I stopped calling out. And I had such a great relationship with him. And I realized what changed was I did not tolerate it. It doesn't mean I need to give him massive consequences. It was a consistency. And I followed through. And I knew that. And therefore, I was able to be compassionate. You know how many times I gave, for me, I just find for me, especially in my class, that a lot of times, it's normally actually, by the way, 30% of students I found in my history of the hundreds of students. 30% of students are just talk to the wall. They need to have a different way of interacting. And what I found is consistency, not massive consequences, but small consequences that they just know this is not okay. This is not okay. So one of the things I found, which worked not perfectly, but on the whole, was them writing out, this has worked for the classroom, totally not for home, but just as an example. So I gave them to write out a couple of lines. I know what. I'm a great guy, and I'll never call that. I know what it was. It just whatever flew off the book. And it was like short, like a little painful, but not too painful. You know how many times I give it to the student who's calling out, and they say, high five, thank you, Rabbi. You're amazing. That, what I'm trying to bring out, just because we follow through, does not mean that it needs to be tension. Because I understood that it wasn't personal, because I understood where they're coming from, they also knew that they shouldn't be doing it. And they knew, when I was able to voice it, it's just, when my 7-year-old, I told him, it's probably very difficult for you to do what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. And we need to build that muscle. Now, again, I have that relationship, so he understands that. We need to build it if we're starting off. But in our mind, I want to say that it's not a contradiction. And it's the consistency that we keep on doing it, that follow through, that they see it wasn't tolerated. Now, obviously, we want to build them, not break them. And that's exactly what the 4th step. But that's the goal. So that's the question was, I've done the countdown, I've done this, they still don't listen. So to wrap up, there was 2 things. First of all, attitude, understand where they're coming from. It's not personal. They're just doing it to get their way. And now it's my job as an adult to guide them and train them to do the heavy lifting, even though it's uncomfortable. Next was the best way when they are not rational, talking more does not help. It just adds fuel to the fire. Then we need to show it in action. Whatever that showing in action is, that's more than just this workshop, but that show versus itself. Obviously, that's why I'm building a full program to show you how to change your attitude, what the action is, how to work it, how to read it, so it lands. Does that answer your question overall?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for asking it. I'm sure you're not the only one. That question is so common. Anyone else?
Yeah.
What I really want from you guys is you didn't sit here for an hour for nothing. You want to change your home. Don't let fear hold you back. Do what's right, because I'm going to go home. I have a great relationship with my family. You know? So you do what's necessary to create the change. And the question is, constant fight with my daughter. Kids are always fighting, always yelling at me. I'm getting mad. Normally, what it takes to have a healthy relationship is a love and authority at the same time. Now, the difference normally is love, friendship is the child at the core, and we're trying to cater for the child. Authority is the opposite. The child has to conform to what the expectations are, our expectations, their expectations, wherever it is. Now, normally where it goes south is when we feel that the friendship and the authority clash with one another. So when the child thinks there's only authority, always on their head, they're going to rebel. And therefore, they're going to create a distance. Or if there's only love, the child thinks they get whatever they want. As soon as, so even when they were kind and loving and giving and giving and giving, the child still thinks that it gets their way. So as soon as we say, no, now end of screen time, now it's bedtime, now you have to clean up the dishes, now you need to do your own laundry, now you need to make your bed, wherever it is. Hey, I'm so used to getting my way that, what do you want? They don't know how to digest it even. Even if intellectually they know it, it's very hard emotionally for them to actually digest it and actually do that muscle. It's almost like being lazy. They just want to be comforted. Now, so it depends where the child's coming from. If it is that the child is coming to feel the relationship is very negative, especially with older children, so they're more independent, it's first important to be able to stop arguing with them. Being agreeable doesn't mean that they get whatever they want, but verbally, we just acknowledge, it's not fair, you always do that, you never do this, you're always picking me, I get you. It makes sense. For sure, that's how you feel. Acknowledge them, and then it doesn't mean you have to go along. You don't want to breed negativity, and you just want to feel that you're giving them, you're taking away, you want to build a love. If the deficit, they genuinely feel there's a massive deficit in love, you want to, first of all, stop the resistance and negativity, and you want to give them, speak their language of love. That to some people, it's just bringing them food to where they're at, instead, or making them their favorite supper might be great. Going out with them, going shopping with them. Sometimes younger children, it's a hug, playing with them, having fun together. Where it's not, oh, you're going to be nice and it's going to cost me something. Now, it's obviously going to take time. They're going to say, hey, is this real? Or is this just a manipulation, an inspiration that's going to fade by next week? They're not going to trust it. So we need to keep on playing it. Now, obviously it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice the respect, but we want to make sure that their reality shows them that there's actual love. It's called confirmation bias. When they see negativity and that's how they feel, they're going to look at that with everything with black glasses. So no matter how much you try and give them, they're going to translate it as it's bad enough. Especially when we go argue, try to explain it, it's going to fuel that fire. But by not fueling that fire and showing them the reality is different, not arguing, but showing them, it's going to come a point where the reality is going to be so strong, it's going to break that confirmation bias. On the flip side, if we be nice and nice, especially with younger children, and they're just feeling they're going to get the other way, a lot of parents are found feel that maybe if they just give them more love, that's going to switch around the child. But if the child is so used to getting what they want, the problem is not love. The problem is that they have to be trained that even though it's difficult, we still have to meet obligations. We still need to stand up. More love is not going to train them. Even for us, it's difficult to do the right thing. For sure, for our children, they're less mature, they're more trained, they're more selfish, so to speak. So what needs to be, if the dynamics is, it's not a deficit of love, there's a deficit of respect, we have to start following through, putting our foot down, building that respect. Again, it needs to be done in a way that respect and love don't clash. Like the example I was giving, I could give a consequence to my child, to the students, and they still love me, and we still have a great time, and we can have a great time. That doesn't mean that they could go off the hook. There's a system how to do that. But that is the key. Before we continue, anyone else have questions over there? I want those who are live deserve the right. I'll stay on for another 5 minutes. If you have a question, just unmute yourself, put it in the chat, I'll answer it. Okay, so I'll do one more question, and then we will close it for the day. It's tremendously important that you change your dynamics. I'm going to tell you, it sounds scary, but you know how many kids are hanging out, drinking, drugging, doing nonsense? If they have a great family bond, not just love, but also respect rules in a way that's connecting and loving, we could avoid that. We could change the world if they have a great parent and child relationship. So you owe it to yourself, to your kids. I would like to know more about what my son feels like. This is a tremendously important fact. When we understand where our child's coming from, then we could have great passion, compassion for them. But even more importantly, we could actually build a more effective plan. I'm going to give it to the example of what I mentioned before when I was traveling and my 12-year-old wasn't packing. Initially, I thought that he just doesn't care about me. And therefore, I got very upset. When I realized, I remember, he's more like emotional. He gets overwhelmed. He's not like on the ball in that aspect as much. And what I found was he was going to go to camp. And he wanted everything in a particular way. And he wasn't sure how to take those 5 pieces of stuff and put it in a suitcase. In his mind, he froze. It was too much for him, for whatever reason. By me putting on pressure for him, it just created more of a freeze. He wanted a pack. He just didn't know how. And he feels like a failure. So we know our child, especially if you've been around your child for long enough, you know, are they on the ball? Is it because they don't care? Is it because, when do they get emotional? Is it when we speak harshly to them? Do they break down? Or are they standing? Do they connect better when we explain stuff? Or is it showing? In this particular case, I realized it was just too much for him and the time crunch. So I started packing the stuff. I told him, you sit on the side. And he felt bad. I said, I get you. Just sit on the side. I'm going to do it. I packed it. And 3 minutes later, the relationship was fine. Now, if I would have had time, I would have told him, look, take this piece and put it over here. Show him exactly what to do, because he felt overwhelmed. Is it because they are angry, upset? So the first thing is acknowledge. It's called ACR, acknowledge, clarify, redirect, different system. But the first thing is we want to make sure we understand them. We could ask them sometimes, is it difficult for you? Tell me more. Now, it depends. If they're just emotional, we could be aware, ask them, name stuff, and either it hits the ball or they're going to say no. Now, sometimes the child's not going to be comfortable even. The distance is so big, they don't even want to share. They go to want to trust. Is this real? Do I even trust you? Or you're totally off the mark? So the first thing is being intentional, and that's where attitude comes in. It's not about me. Think from their vantage point. Who are their friends? Who do they feel like? What are their ambitions? What do they want? What's important to them? Why do you think they're resisting? And I think 80% of the solutions is when we're intentional. If you just think, being intentional, what happened? Why did it happen? Taking our ego out of it and just being objective, thinking what happened, will get far more accurate and closer, and then we could voice it and we could step up closer. Okay, it's 10 minutes after the hour. If anyone has any questions, now's the chance. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. I'll see you on the inside if you want to join, and we'll call it a day. Any questions? So don't give up before the miracle happens. Stay blessed and have a great day.